So I am a proud member of the Forest County Potawatomi community. So I'm going to take you back about 350 years, okay? So you can imagine what Wisconsin was like before it was a state, right? What it was like here. There were tribes all over the state thriving, right? Forest County Potawatomi was one of those. And we know for a fact that they had villages up in Door County, along Lake Michigan, down into Milwaukee, southern Illinois around into Indiana and also into Michigan, right? And I imagine at that time, families together, practicing traditions, culture, ceremonies, a variety of things, right? Thriving in this environment, back in those days. Well, we all know how that changed. There was a removal process. Tribes were forced to move out west to Kansas and Oklahoma. Eventually our tribe came back and settled in Crandon and Wabeno area. The tribe was eventually recognized in 1936 by the federal government, which established the reservation, right? The unfortunate thing about tribal reservations around the country is for many years, that since the land is held in trust by the federal government, the land can't be sold, couldn't be leased, it couldn't be taxed. That has changed a little bit recently, but it's still something that can't be sold. So the idea around economic development was just not an option. So for many years, tribes had lived in poverty, and Forest County, Potawatomi, was the poorest tribe in the state of Wisconsin. Now, my journey with the tribe, I've had an opportunity to work for the tribe for a little under 30 years, is unique. It's very personal to me. So my dad, I go back one generation, my dad, born and raised on the reservation in Crandon, moved away, settled here in Green Bay. He was a machinist and actually worked down the street at paper converting. And he raised the family with my mother, and then eventually after he retired, he went back and did some work for the tribe. My grandfather, Harry Ritchie, was a tribal chairman in the 1950s. And that was a time of extreme poverty, but for him it was just about maintaining a quality of life for the people and trying to develop some hope and some opportunity. My great-grandfather, Henry Ritchie, was also a tribal chairman, and he was instrumental in the late 1920s and early 1930s to help establish our tribe along with some other tribal leaders at the time. And my great-great-great-grandfather, Ochiwes, his signature, he was a co-signer on the Chicago Treaty of 1833, which essentially ceded over 5 million acres of land to the federal government, and we all know how that turned out. But the unique thing about the Potawatomi is their perseverance, resilience, and a warrior mentality, right? There's an opportunity for a pathway from prosperity through poverty to prosperity again. And that's our story, right? So large part of the 1900s, the tribe was, again, the poorest in the state. Congress passed the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act back in the late 1980s. Pivot opportunity for the tribe. They had an opportunity to put land into trust in the Milwaukee area, which is part of their ancestral homelands. They opened a bingo hall there in the early 1990s. Formed a partnership with a management company. Eventually in '96, they bought out that management company and took the ownership and the management on all by themselves. And that's when I came to work for the tribe. And I've been honored to have, I think, 10 different roles so far till I got here as CEO. Through that process, one of the things they realized is, as great as gaming has grown and as interesting of a business as it is, and how they have thrived in it, it's not sustainable. It's not going to last forever in its current form. So we really need to diversify. So in 2003, they created the Potawatomi Business Development Corporation, now Potawatomi Ventures, which is a tribally chartered corporation to help diversify the tribe's holdings beyond just gaming. So build capacity, infrastructure, business acumen, access to capital, and really start to create a network of opportunity. I would say the first 10 years were really interesting. We were very aggressive. I had an opportunity to serve on the board and then left the board after a few years to join the organization full time. But we were very aggressive, and we wanted to get out of the gate and try and get involved in as much business activity as we could. Unfortunately, most of what we did, I would say over 50% of the businesses failed. And it was an extremely valuable learning opportunity for us. They say success comes from experience and experience comes from failure. We spent about 10 years in that experience failure area, but we went back and we took a look at what we've learned through history from our ancestors, who we are standing on their shoulders. And that theme rung throughout our minds, which was what we do today is for the next 7 generations. We are resilient, we persevere, we keep going. So we took some time to self-reflect and we said, what are we good at? What do we know about being a Forest County Potawatomi-owned business? How can we utilize the tools that we have to really create a strategy that's going to set us up for success? So one of the things we noticed around the country is tribes were having success in federal government contracting. So we brought in some experts from around the country to help us build that. We created a construction management firm called Greenfire, which is one of your sponsors today. And same thing, we brought in experienced personnel that could help us build that business from the start and be successful. We got involved in technology. We built a data center in Milwaukee. We got involved in the convenience store business. We're going to break ground on our first convenience store this fall down in Milwaukee called Fireside Market. And then we're also involved in some emerging technologies and venture capital. And I think it's through that process in pivoting that we learned so much about ourselves and our capabilities. And we really took the time to understand what we were missing and what we needed to focus on, and really took the time to understand our identity. We were almost out of business around 2010, 2011. We were losing money. We turned it around, and today, Potawatomi Ventures is a $350 million organization with 700 employees. And we are thriving. We have a great team that loves our culture, that it relates to our mission to grow this for the tribe and to really create something sustainable for the next 7 generations. So when I think about our next pivot, right, what is our responsibility? I've mentioned I've been here for 30 years. I've had the opportunity to lead this organization as a CEO for a little over a year. And really now my responsibility is to take the next generation into the business, right? So bringing in our young tribal members that are coming out of college, entry-level positions to come in and work for our subsidiary companies through training and development. We have some of our senior leadership team that are also tribal members that are mentoring them and passing along that important aspect of who we are as Potawatomi. We're keepers of the fire, right? And so passing that on to that next generation is such a critical piece. And then recognizing that we still have so much more to learn, right? There's an opportunity here for us to really have an impact on our community, to show the generation how we can succeed. We recently opened an office in downtown Milwaukee. We have also some offices on our campus, which is on the west side of Milwaukee near Miller Brewing and Harley-Davidson. And we moved downtown in particular because we wanted to be close to the center of the titans of industry, right? And if you look outside of our building, you'll see Northwestern Mutual Life and US Bank and Robert W. Baird. And I want our employees to look at those successful companies that have been around, in some cases for 100 years, and remember who they work for, right? The Potawatomi. They own this, and they can have an impact on the next 7 generations. We have a pathway to prosperity. And what we like to say at Potawatomi Ventures is we're brighter together. Thank you.